Let's go to Sharif in Philadelphia. Hi.
How are you doing? It's a pleasure to speak with you. I wanted to ask you two quick questions. I wanted to know if you believe there are any undiscovered large ape species.
Are you talking about Yeti or Bigfoot or Sasquatch?
Is that what he's talking about?
Yes, it is.
Is that the message I'm missing here?
I think that's the message you're missing.
Is that right, Sharif?
Pretty much.
I'm out of the loop. Go ahead.
Well, now you'll be amazed when I tell you that I'm sure that they exist.
You are?
Yeah, I've talked to so many Native Americans who've all described the same sounds, two who've seen them. I've probably got about, 30 books that have come from different parts of the world, from China, from all over the place. And there was a little tiny snippet in the newspaper just last week which says that British scientists have found what they believe to be a Yeti hair, and that the scientists in the Natural History Museum in London couldn't identify it as any known animal. Now, that was just a wee bit in the newspaper, and obviously we have to hear a little bit more about
In this
that.
age of DNA, if you find a hair, there might be some cells on it.
Well, there will be, and I'm sure that's what they've examined, and they don't match up. What this my little tiny snippet says, they don't match up with DNA cells from known animals. So, 8.
Skunk ape.
Gilia.
Yeti.
Chenu.
Wendigo.
Abominable snowman.
Rugaru.
Neanderthal.
Timber giant.
Sasquatch.
For thousands of years across the world, people have reported encountering a large primate walking on two legs. From the Himalayan mountains to the Everglades swamps, thousands report witnessing the elusive beast. It is almost impossible to fathom that a giant creature who has supposedly survived alongside us through history has yet to be captured or definitively documented. When Otis and I set out to investigate the existence of the Sasquatch, we decided to begin in a place where no researcher had looked before: the mirror.
The human imagination is a powerful thing. We share stories and folklore with children and introduce them to the mysterious and fantastical. For most, the enchantment with stories of monsters, spirits, and ghosts wear off as children mature. But for some reason, a few mythical creatures continue to show up in popular culture. Do these creatures simply have a stronger hold on the human imagination, or are they really out there? The most well-known creature that captivates popular culture, research, and human imaginations across the world is the Sasquatch.
Sasquatch has been given hundreds of names in languages from across the world. Have humans throughout history been captivated by a myth, or have people witnessed an enormous primate that is really out there?
Cryptozoologists define Sasquatches as large humanoid species that inhabit dense wilderness areas. Despite thousands of sightings reported from the US and Canada, there is only one known primate species that inhabit these regions: human beings.
The accepted theory of how humans inhabited the Americas was through a migration route from Asia across the Bering Strait. It is scientifically probable that a small group of the original human population of Sans Bushmen from South Africa traveled northeastward into Asia. From Asia, some portion of the early migratory humans continued on into the Americas. Fossil evidence confirms the existence of an allegedly extinct, enormous, and bipedal primate who lived alongside humans in eastern Asia. The 10-foot-tall, 1,200-pound primate was called Gigantopithecus. Gigantopithecus, whose fossils have been discovered in China, is said to have lived in Asia for approximately 9 million years, and the most recent fossil evidence was dated from 300,000 years ago. Considering humans first inhabited Asia approximately 800,000 years ago, human and the Gigantopithecus are confirmed to have lived alongside each other in eastern Asia for at least 500,000 years. Similarly to the scarcity of Bigfoot evidence, paleontologists were only able to recover a few Gigantopithecus bone samples in remote caves in China. As you can see with a side-by-side comparison of a Gigantopithecus jawbone to a human jawbone, the Gigantopithecus was a massive and powerful primate. Its characteristics and body proportions are very similar to those reported in Sasquatch sightings. A descendant of the Gigantopithecus would be a possible explanation for present-day sightings of the Yeren of China and the Yeti of the Himalayas. However, evidence of an ancient Sasquatch-like creature in Eastern Asia still doesn't explain the possible existence of a Western Hemisphere Sasquatch.
Before we can begin to evaluate whether or not North and South American Sasquatch sightings could be legitimate, we need to refer to our own migratory history to determine if another bipedal primate could have made its way into the Americas. Remembering that the Bering Strait existed as the accessible point of trans-Pacific primate migration from Asia to the Americas, and that modern-day reports of Sasquatches describe a creature almost identical to Gigantopithecus, the question for us becomes not whether Bigfoot ever existed, but was the Gigantopithecus of Asia able to survive the last 300,000 years and migrate to the Americas? If these ancient primates have truly been able to survive, it is very possible that the descendants of the Gigantopithecus are what North American Sasquatch witnesses have spotted. After studying a few theories of Bigfoot's existence, Taylor and I set out to talk to some local enthusiasts and experts. We're here at the Greater Boston Bigfoot Research Institute in Roxbury. Let's go talk to some people. We took a little time to check out the institute, and we came across some interesting stuff. Their inventory included a model lab with some field evaluations.
Here we have an evaluation of Hockomock Swamp, a swamp that's close to Bridgewater, where the Bigfoot was sighted back in the 80s.
They also had a media and archive center, some plaster for casting, as well as a model of the Onion Mountain cast, an alleged Bigfoot footprint found in California in 1967, and finally, the simulactron. Right here we have the simulactron, Bigfoot simulator, where you can experience life through Bigfoot's eyes. Let's check it out. After checking out the store, Harry was able to sit down with its coordinator, Miss Sarah Skolnik.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Harry Pierce.
Hi, I'm Sarah Skolnik.
We're here at the Bigfoot Research Institute of Greater Boston, and I'm going to ask Sarah here a few questions. So, how long has this research institute here in Roxbury been in existence?
So we've been here for 7 years. And it also operates in conjunction with 826 Boston, which is a writing and tutoring center.
So, what are your personal beliefs about the existence of Bigfoot?
It's totally possible. There's a lot of people that will reach out to us saying, I have evidence, I think I've seen it. But yeah, there's evidence out there, and I think that like many of the cryptids, like the chupacabra, Nessie, all these things, like there's evidence out there, so it's totally possible.
Okay. Let's see, have you heard of any interesting sightings lately? Do people come to report?
We do some clippings. If you want to take a look at the communication center we have on the wall there. There are people like in Siberia, like there's like an actual institute where like research lab that is actually looking for Bigfoot, and they have, I'll show you the photo, but there's like a Bigfoot suit and like an actual like government funded program. So, hearing about those kind of things is really interesting.
Well, thanks for talking to us. We think this is a great resource, and we're glad that some other people in the area are fascinated.
Thanks for coming by.
We just got off the highway on our way to Bridgewater's Hockomock Swamp. After reading the Research Institute's evaluation, we decided to come check it out for ourselves. We're here in Bridgewater's Hockomock Swamp. The native Wampanoag Indians named it Hockomock, meaning place where spirits dwell. Is this really just a place of legend, or could a monster really be living in these woods? Considering the multiple sightings in recent years, and the extremely dense, almost impenetrable wilderness, it's easy to believe that this is a viable habitat for a Sasquatch.
And the mud here is thick and ample. It's easy to see why not many humans journey into the Hockomock Swamp, and it's certainly a potential place for a creature to exist unnoticed. My shoe is lost in the Hockomock Swamp mud right now, and Otis is going to retrieve it from me. We're going to drive by. There's my shoe. Otis, here you go. Get out, just pour it. Otis' shoes are going off too. Seriously dense.
After walking through about a half a mile of thick brush and deep mud, Harry and I have come to the entrance of the swamp. No wonder the early European settlers named this area the Devil's Lair. Harry and I are on our way out of the swamp, and it's become pretty clear to us that this is not an area humans are naturally meant to be in. It raises the question, how many areas like this are there in the US? How many places go unnoticed, far away from civilization? We're merely 30 miles outside of Boston, and we have met our match.
In this day and age, it's easy to feel like every corner of the United States has been covered by humans and our settlements. But as Otis and I emerged from Hockomock Swamp, our shoes covered in mud and our ankles covered in mosquito bites and ticks, we can see that you don't have to travel far to find an almost uninhabitable place for humans to exist. Somewhere like this is a perfect environment for a species or a creature to survive outside of the eyes of humans. After researching through numerous articles, books, and television programs, Otis and I came across one particularly compelling piece of Bigfoot evidence. From the History Channel's program Monster Quest, we saw an episode where a team of biologists, anthropologists, and cryptozoologists traveled to northern Canada's Snellgrove Lake, where they investigate a potential sample of Bigfoot DNA.
The most compelling piece of evidence regarding Bigfoot is the Patterson-Gimlin film, footage of Bigfoot captured in Bluff Creek, California by two ranchers. It was captured almost 40 years ago and still has not been disproven. Jeffrey Meldrum, an Idaho State professor and leading cryptozoologist, discusses the film in an NPR interview.
It's easy to say, oh, it looks like a man in a fursuit, until you see a man in a fursuit, and then the comparison really pales especially on these newer, clearer images from the film. You can see muscle movement, you can see the shoulder blades slide under the skin, you can see tendons attaching to joints and so forth. The clarity is really much better than most people have acknowledged in the past.
Mm-hmm. And there are still people who are analyzing the film.
Well, actually, absolutely. In fact, just a few weeks ago, I returned from a trip to Stanford University, where, as part of a production for the Discovery Channel, we were working with a motion and gait analysis lab there on campus to give the film one more fresh look, and particularly from this newer enhanced version. And we even brought in an actor who we coached in order to simulate the posture that was exhibited by the subject. He was able to do that after considerable coaching, pretty closely approximate the posture of the body, the angles of the joints. But what fell short was the obvious difference that he wasn't 7 feet tall, he wasn't 3 feet across.
For the last stop on our investigation, we headed 2 hours north to Portland, Maine, to the International Cryptozoology Museum. The museum's director and founder is Loren Coleman, one of the leaders in North American Sasquatch research. We're here in Portland, Maine, outside the International Cryptozoology Museum. I'm going to go inside and talk to the director and founder, Loren Coleman, and see what he has to say.
The main theory for